One, I got this wrong this morning. I thought this happened this year, and it was last year. So it was last year that Trump went to Singapore, and last year that Trump met with Kim Jong-un, et cetera, et cetera. And I actually covered it then too. But my mistake, and I apologize. Thank you for everyone who pointed this out. I don't like making mistakes, but it still kind of fit in, and I still don't understand why the Sherpas have a leading role and elected Canadian officials don't. I think I still don't have an answer for that. Neither here nor there. This was a year out of date. However, today, Justin Trudeau announced plans to ban plastic. CBC News is reporting, quote, Trudeau announces plans to ban single-use plastics starting in 2021 at the earliest. PM says list of banned items in Canada still needs to be firmed up. Yeah, right. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says his government will ban single-use plastics, which could include bags, straws, and cutlery in Canada as early as 2021. Quote, we need to cover all of Canada with this decision, and that's why the federal government is moving forward on a science-based approach to establishing which harmful single-use plastics we will be eliminating as of 2021, said Trudeau during a stop at the Nault Nature Reserve in Mont Saint Helier, just outside Montreal, said on Monday. A full list of banned items isn't yet set in stone, but a government source told CBC News that the list could include items like cotton swabs, drink stirrers, plates and balloon sticks, fast food containers, and cups made of expanded polystyrene, which is similar to white styrofoam, will also be banned, said the source. Trudeau said the government will research what items it should ban, and they'll follow the model chosen by the European Union, which voted in March to also ban products made of oxo-degradable plastics, such as bags. He also revealed intentions to make companies that manufacture plastic products or sell them to take responsibility for recycling their plastic waste. Quote, whether we're talking about plastic bottles or cell phones, it will be up to the business to take responsibility for the plastics they're manufacturing and putting out in the world, said Trudeau. Conservative leader Andrew Scheer said the plan lacks any details about how it would impact the economy. Quote, in the dying days of this government, with a scandal-plagued government, with a prime minister desperate for a change the channel, we see another gesture without a plan, without any kind of specifics about how this would be implemented or any kind of study on the impact of prices for consumers, on jobs, on how this would affect small businesses, he told reporters in Ottawa. This is clearly just a government clutching at straws. Environment and Climate Change Canada says Canadians throw away more than 34 million plastic bags every day that often wind up in landfills, and it can take as long as 1,000 years for them to decay. I just want to point out, quote, quick second here, the population of Canada is 37 million people. Are you throwing out a plastic bag every day? Do you come home and throw out a plastic bag? I'm just making sure. I want you to check with yourself. Is that what you do? Because I don't think I've thrown out a plastic bag in a few days. Maybe I threw out 2 yesterday, just to show the environment. Ha! I've got enough in my little bag catcher thing here. Anyway, how many plastic bags do you throw out a week? 7? 10? Anyway, back to the article here. Canada, France, Germany, Italy, and the UK said the European Union signed on to the Ocean Plastics Charter at the G7 summit in Charlevoix, Quebec last June, agreeing to find ways to deal with marine plastics and litter. And for a brush up on that, see this morning's video. Haha, sorry. Back to the article. All those countries have moved to curb plastic pollution, some of them with laws to reduce the consumption of plastics. Right, I find this interesting too. How, in what way have all of those countries moved to curb plastic pollution? Has Canada not moved to curb plastic pollution? I think I know there are municipalities and cities near me that have done things that they can do, banning plastic bags, etc. And some businesses as well, Walmart and Zayres, to mention a few, have switched over to charging for plastic bags. I asked the person in Zayres, where does this 5 cent go? Does it go to, an environment donation or something like that? Or does it go to buy the other plastic bags? And she just smirked at me. And I thought it was kind of funny because I was like, we both know it's going right to the bottom line, right? It's part of the calculation that they do now, right? And you own a grocery store, your margin is like 2.5%, and people want to pay 5 cents for plastic bags. All right, sure, we'll charge them 5 cents for plastic bags. That's how I think that conversation went. Okay, back to the article. I know I'm way off base here, or way off on a tangent. I apologize. Back to the article. A report done earlier this year by consulting firms Deloitte and ChemInfo Services and commissioned by Environment and Climate Change Canada has found that in 2016, only 9% of plastic waste was recycled in Canada and 87% ended up in landfills. Here's another tangent coming, guys. I did a whole report about this specifically. Yes, the recycling that we do doesn't really divert all that much waste from the landfill. This social license that the bottle companies, the soda companies purchased to make and bottle their product in cheaper plastic bottles, thereby granting them the social license to, or they supported recycling, thereby granting them the social license to put their product in these bottles that were recyclable. It was supposed to pay for itself, and it never did, and it hasn't yet. And this is a problem that is still continuing because the Liberals aren't talking about fixing that problem. They're talking about doubling down on the Ponzi scheme, right? We're going to create lots of jobs in Canada, and we're going to process this waste here, and it's going to create energy, and it's going to create all this stuff, except that they don't have a plan. Like this plan is very flimsy. There's absolutely nothing of real value other than a statement saying we're going to ban plastics and everybody's going to go yay. And my question is, when did the Liberals become the Green Party? Really? Okay, back to the article. Canada has recently been roasted in international headlines after dozens of containers of rotting garbage and contaminated recyclables sat festering in the Philippines. The company that sent the mislabeled containers is no longer operating, and Ottawa is spending $1.14 million to bring these cargo containers back to Canada for disposal. Right. So it's incredible. It's incredible. They're not solving the problem. We're still going to send recyclables to be processed in other countries like China, like India, like the Philippines, and pretend that it's solving a problem, and it's not. Okay, here's Justin Trudeau announcing the plastic ban.
2021, Canada will ban harmful single-use plastics from coast to coast to coast. Our approach, including determining which products fall under the ban, will be grounded in scientific evidence and closely mirror the actions being taken by the European Union and like-minded countries. Second, by working with provinces, territories, and industry to establish consistent standards for extended producer responsibility programs across Canada. Companies that manufacture plastic products or sell items with plastic packaging will be responsible for the collection and recycling of their plastic waste. Currently, Canadians throw away $8 billion worth of plastic material every single year. By recycling or reusing these plastics, we can reduce pollution, generate billions of dollars in revenue, and create approximately 42,000 jobs across the country. Taking the time to get this right is extremely important, but we are moving forward on banning toxic single-use plastics by 2021. This is something that Canadians expect. It's expected to be done right, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Right. Man, here's a follow-up question where Trudeau struggles. I hope you guys can hear this. It seems kind of quiet to me, but
recently switched.
You and your family do to cut back on plastics?
We have recently switched to drinking water bottles out of when we have water bottles out of a plastic, away from plastic towards paper, like drink box water bottles sort of things. There's a number.
Yeah, really convincing. Did you practice that one in front of the mirror there, Justin, or no? Yeah. Here's another one, and this one is from 2018. But, I mean, the hypocrisy on display by this government. Remember Phoenix Pay, right? Like, the big statement, we're going to fix this big problem. Canadians expect this big problem to be fixed. Yeah, it's the same garbage, right? And the same contradictory behavior. On one hand, you say one thing and then behave like this on the other hand. So CBC News is reporting in February 2018, despite lip service on reducing waste, Ottawa gave Alberta plastic giant $35 million grant. Yeah, the Liberal government gave $35 million to chemical company that makes plastic resins just one day before Prime Minister Justin Trudeau promised to use Canada's G7 presidency to get other nations to commit to reducing or phasing out single-use plastics. The grant to Calgary-based Nova Chemicals was announced in late January as part of the Strategic Innovation Fund, a $1.26 billion 5-year business growth measure that was unveiled in last year's federal budget. I scroll down. More specifically, Nova Chemicals is using innovative technologies to produce cleaner resources and less undesirable byproducts stemming from production. Sassville wrote in an email, this could mean making products like plastic food packaging stronger and more easily recyclable. This innovation could also be used in products and applications such as small appliances, automobiles, solvents, and food and cosmetic additives. According to a January 23rd news release from the Chemical Industry Association of Canada, the money is also going towards Nova Chemical's $2.2 billion expansion plan in Sarnia, Ontario, including a new polyethylene facility and expansion of an existing ethylene facility. Ethylene is one of the main substances in polyethylene. The expanded plant will allow Nova Chemicals to produce 431,000 additional tons of polyethylene a year. Nova Chemicals did not respond to requests for comment Wednesday. Polyethylene is the world's most common plastic material and is largely used to make plastic bags, food wrap, containers such as water and soda bottles, as well as plastic pails, pipes, and bins. As an estimated 8 million tons of plastic garbage ends up in the world's oceans each year, with single-use plastic food containers among the biggest culprits. A day after the grant was made public, Trudeau hosted a roundtable at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, with the heads of multinationals and several international environmental activists and academics. There, he promised Canada would use its year as president of the G7 nations to get the world to address the issue of plastic pollution in the oceans. The other big issue we would very much like to highlight and get the global community to show more leadership on is ocean protection, particularly around plastics and pollution, Trudeau said at the start of that meeting. Later that same day, Environment Minister Catherine McKenna said Canada was looking at getting other members of the G7 to sign a plastic pledge to commit to reducing the amount of plastic that ends up in the ocean. Plastic is often found in the stomach of marine life, turtles, and fish, can mistake it for food. McKenna has tweeted repeatedly about the issue in recent days, linking to a January 26 article about the impact of plastic garbage on ocean reefs. Just last week, she responded to a discussion about plastic-lined coffee cups by saying, eliminating single-use plastics is critical. Keith Stewart, senior energy strategist for Greenpeace Canada, said it's hard to believe Canada's commitment to reducing ocean plastics when it's providing multi-million-dollar grants to companies that make them. So limiting single-use plastics gets tweets and producing more of them gets $35 million, said Stewart. We really should be trying to ban the use of disposable plastics and find better alternatives. Greenpeace has a number of campaigns to convince people to reduce or eliminate their use of single-use plastics, such as polypropylene drinking straws and disposable water bottles. Right, and the Rebel media did an in-depth look at Justin Trudeau's habits, and he got hundreds of dollars in disposable or water bottles and all sorts of other plastics. And really, when Justin Trudeau said, we're going to bring 25,000 Syrians, that was not a well thought out plan. That was a statement. And this is a statement in the same way, right? Like, he doesn't have a plan. He hasn't thought about the impact to business. He hasn't thought about the impact to the larger community or the smaller community. He hasn't thought about the impact to women, clearly. Have you ever tried a cardboard tampon? I've heard complaints just in the comments section. But, and like, that was a Twitter thread that a whole bunch of people chimed in on. And like, it was a serious thread. People were upset about this and like, oh, it's very scratchy. I don't know. But my point is, I think that maybe Mr. Trudeau has bitten off more than he can chew, similar to the Phoenix pay system when he promised that he would fix that and no problem, he's going to personally oversee it. And here we are 4 years later, and billions of dollars have gone down the drain, and still we are no closer to having a Phoenix pay system that works. I don't trust this government to, quote, do it right. I don't trust this government to do it at all. This guy is out of his depth and very, very disappointing. So, thank you for watching. Check out thepeoplespartyofcanada.ca. Hopefully we can get things back on the right track. Because, you know, if you can't get a basic pay system right, if you can't pay your employees, should you be in charge of a giant bureaucracy that can ban things like plastics at the stroke of a pen? I don't think so. Pay your workers. Get things right. Come on. Okay. Thanks for watching, everybody.